Sometimes your 50s don't feel like a fresh start or a new chapter. Honestly, it feels like someone handed you a book soaked in gasoline and said, "Here, hold this." And the next thing you know, the whole thing's on fire. You're on fire. The world's on fire. And somehow you're holding the match and you can't find a fire extinguisher. How do you even start to rebuild when all the universe does is hand you a thimble full of water and says, "Well, good luck with that, honey." Well, stick around because I'm going to show you. Picture this: Colorado, January 2024. A 53-year-old woman, freshly laid off, menopausal hot flashes raging like a 5-alarm fire. The hair on her head is falling out in clumps, but for some reason she's rocking a beard that ZZ Top would envy. Hormones had also gifted her 50 extra pounds and the energy levels of a sloth on NyQuil. That woman? Yeah, it's me. It's me. It's totally me. Oh, and did I mention the delightful mental health struggles that decided to come along too? Anxiety, depression, they all showed up and they brought their luggage. So I know that they're going to be here for a while. It's not just losing your job or your hair. It's losing your sense of who you are. Watching the life that you work for crumble like a New Year's resolution in February. Life didn't just feel like it was falling apart. It felt like it was disintegrating one humiliating piece at a time. But here's the thing about falling apart. Sometimes it clears the way for something better. But to be real, at the time, it felt more like the universe had bulldozed my life and left me with a rusty metal folding chair and a stale sugar-free granola bar. Turns out, losing everything you thought mattered? Yeah. Well, it's a brutal shortcut to figuring out what actually does matter. Here's where it gets interesting, because as much as I wanted to scream into the void, and trust me, I did. I screamed a lot. This total collapse forced me to figure my shit out, and not in that cheesy everything happens for a reason way, although I do say that a lot. No lie, I do say everything does happen for a reason, but wait, no more. You have no other choice, right? You can either get up or stay down forever. When you go through a loss like this, you get real clear on what actually matters. That job I thought defined me, turns out it didn't. The idea of success I was killing myself for, absolutely overrated. And the stuff I thought I needed to be happy, that was just noise. Noise that I had spent years drowning in. You know the kind, the constant be more, do more, achieve more soundtrack that plays on repeat in your head until you don't even know what you're chasing anymore. Letting go of who you thought you were supposed to be is absolutely painful, but sometimes it's the only way to make room for who you're meant to become. Before I was chasing titles, paychecks, and other people's approval, now I'm chasing what feeds my soul. That shift, right now, I think it's worth every ounce of pain it took for me to get here. This has been a lesson for the ages. Falling apart cleared my slate, right? It was messy, uneven, slightly scorched, but it was blank nonetheless. And on that wreckage, I started piecing together something new. There I was, no map, no compass, and absolutely no clue how to move forward. I just knew staying in the rubble wasn't an option. So here's the thing about falling apart. The falling isn't the worst part. It's the slow motion replay that goes on in your mind as you go down. You're a loser. But what comes next? That's where things get interesting. When you finally hit, it's not solid ground. It's bouncy, like a trampoline. Sure, the fall still hurts like hell, but if you play it right, you're going to bounce back, just probably not in the direction that you expected. When I finally hit, I didn't just bounce, I freaking catapulted into someone that I didn't even recognize. But you know what? I kind of like her. That's the thing about the rebound. It shows you parts of yourself that maybe you thought you'd lost. No lie, getting to this point wasn't instant. For months, I was crushed. I was floundering in the wreckage, convinced I'd never figure out what to do next. And that's okay, because sometimes rebuilding isn't about speed, right? It's about giving yourself permission to start even when you're not ready. I mean, haven't you ever hit a point where it felt like everything was falling apart? How did you deal with it? Or maybe you're there right now, standing in the wreckage, wondering what's next. Let me know in the comments. I want to hear your story. For me, the bounce started with small things, right? For example, I started a YouTube channel. I had to reevaluate what I was spending money on. I started to drive for rideshare. And yes, going from a successful product manager to an Uber driver was a hit to my ego, but it taught me something really valuable: adaptability, right? Plus, Meeting people that I wouldn't ordinarily meet at this phase in my life is actually pretty extraordinary. And I'm loving it, just loving it. Honestly, the bounce taught me that I could show up even when I wasn't sure that I could. All right, but let's not pretend that this has been some kind of Hallmark Channel redemption arc, okay? Oh no. Oh no. There have been some gloriously absurd lows. Like the time I was ugly crying to my husband, full on snot and tears, and I told him, as serious as I could muster, I would get it if you wanted to leave me. To which he just kind of looked at me completely unfazed and said, I'm not going anywhere. Or the day I sat in my car crying while waiting for my next Uber call and thinking, this is it. This is my legacy. A woman snotting in her iced coffee in a Walmart parking lot. Or one day when I was home alone and I was just running through the house, ranting and raving like a lunatic on how my life was over. And Posey over here just kept snoring through it all. Hey, Mom, are we spiraling again? Because I'll just be over here. Even she knew I needed to get over myself. Dogs don't care about your existential crisis. Sometimes the truth you need comes from the weirdest places, even a snoring dog. Life's funny like that. Brutal, ridiculous, and somehow exactly what you need when you need it. Now, looking back, those absurd lows were oddly grounding. They reminded me that even when life feels like a disaster movie, you are still the main character and the script isn't finished yet. Losing all that I did gave me the freedom to stop caring about the wrong things, okay? For decades, I thought success was about titles, paychecks, and the illusion of having it all together. I built my life around proving my worth to others. But when the thing I thought defined me was gone, I was left staring at a hard truth. It never really did. At all. At all. Rebuilding meant finding value in who I am, not what I do. It meant learning to separate my self-worth from my resume and my paycheck and the expectations that I thought I had to meet. Taking all that away left me with just me. And let me tell you, that was terrifying. And that's when it hit me. Maybe losing it all wasn't the end. Maybe it was the start of something that I couldn't see yet. But here's where I'm in a weirdly unique position. I didn't just lose success, right? I've seen it from all sides. I started my life poor. I had a career most people would call successful. And now I have hindsight screaming at me that it really wasn't what I made it out to be. And you know what? That's freaking freeing as hell. Because now I can tell you firsthand, chasing success isn't what makes you happy. Knowing who you are without all of that extra noise is. Someone in the comments the other day said, what if everything I've learned to be great at fails? And honestly, I had to address that because that thought used to haunt me too. But here's what I've learned. If what you're great at fails, you find something else to be great at. Because that's what we do, right? We adapt, we evolve, and we keep showing up. Now, my success looks different. It's finding joy in the little things and showing up for myself even on the really hard days. It's making it through another day and actually being proud of it. Here's another thing I've learned. It is never too late to start over, ever. Turns out second chances aren't just reserved for the young or the lucky. They're really for anyone stubborn enough to try. And apparently that's me, I'm stubborn. Would I have chosen this path for myself? Oh, hell no. Hell no. Would I have chosen it? No. Life didn't exactly give me a menu to choose from. But now that I'm on this path, I don't think that I would trade it. I'm not even sure I would go back to a corporate job. I don't know. Do I have my shit together? That's also a hell no. That's also a hell no. I'm not even close to that because rebuilding isn't glamorous. It's a brutal, beautiful mess, right? And in that mess, you find the pieces of yourself worth keeping, right? Those are the ones that are worth every splinter and every bruise. That's the truth that I had to face when everything started falling apart. And just like that trampoline I hit, rebuilding isn't about bouncing back to where you were, right? It's about launching into something new, even if it's freaking terrifying. Who I was is gone. She's gone. Now, if you've ever felt like you're clawing your way through the rubble of your life trying to rebuild, then you know that this isn't just about bouncing back. It's about mourning what you've lost while trying to find a way forward. Because here's the thing, you can't rebuild until you've made peace with the ashes. And if you don't, that grief festers. It sneaks into everything that you try to create, poisoning it before it even has a chance to grow. This isn't just about moving on. It's about understanding why letting go hurts like hell and why it's the only way to reclaim your story. If you've been wondering why it feels so impossible to start over, you're not alone, and it's time we talked about it.